Let's talk about this Alec Baldwin case.
Yeah, Alec Baldwin dodges a bullet. Talk about that. I mean,
there's two people that have dodged a bullet this week, but we won't name who the other one was.
Don't mention the other one, or else we won't get advertising on this.
Yes.
But
stay away, bots.
Yeah, but let me tell you something. Alec Baldwin is the luckiest MFer because
second luckiest
because he could have been found guilty, possibly, but because there was a dirty prosecutor that hid evidence.
Whoa.
The case got dismissed.
Shots fired by RJ.
No. Carrie Morrison is a dirty prosecutor. Carrie Morrison, you're a dirty prosecutor.
Whew.
You should have your license removed. How dare you decide what evidence should be given to the defense attorneys?
Okay, I want to understand this. I have questions.
Yeah, dirty prosecutor.
Okay. So we saw that the armor herself was already sent to prison for an 18-month sentence.
We had a podcast on this.
We did.
Gutierrez Smith
was found guilty
of basically involuntary manslaughter because allegedly she didn't check the gun that killed Miss Hutchins.
More specifically, was it that she didn't shake the ammunition
check it, same thing.
They had to be dummy rounds versus real, whatever it is. She was found guilty and put in prison.
Right.
Arising from the same set of facts, they tried to now prosecute Alec Baldwin as an actor or as a producer.
Well, they blocked out the producer part.
Whoa.
So that was a huge blow to the prosecution. So they got the Alex Spiro. Good job, Alex. Spiro. He's the defense attorney. He blocked out the fact that Alec Baldwin was a producer. So that really, for the jury, in my opinion, would have limited the question as to whether or not a actor has a responsibility to check a gun on a movie set.
Okay,
right?
So the prosecutors tried to say, hey, Alec Baldwin is guilty, maybe as an actor because he aimed the gun and he shot the director of photography, or maybe even, jury, as a producer because he also wears this producer hat and he pulls the strings behind the scenes because he decides how the money's spent and who's hired and who comes on the job, and he screwed up and put the wrong armor there, involuntary manslaughter. But you're saying the defense successfully blocked the producer aspect, the characterization of Mr. Baldwin as a producer.
Yes.
They said he's not a producer?
That wasn't going to come into evidence. That was not going to come into the judge said that was irrelevant whether he was a producer. They just focused on an actor, which is a big blow to the prosecution.
That's an interesting finding by the judge.
Yeah.
Because wouldn't you think there's a more potential liable?
Yeah, I thought, believe it or not, I thought that was a bad call by the judge. I think that should have been introduced, but Alec got lucky with that one. The judge said that's not going to come in. But when that didn't come in, I thought that Alec had a much, much better argument because as a producer, I was thinking, and in fact, if you listen to our prior podcast, I said Alec's screwed because I said he's screwed because if they're saying that as a producer, he withheld the safety checks and the standards that was supposed to be done, all right? Namely, hiring a proper armor, hiring proper security, and lastly, checking the gun before shooting it towards Miss Hutchins, right? Now the judge said that doesn't matter. So the only question...
I think it's because the first assistant director really is where the buck stops for safety on a set. It's a known thing in the industry, right? I mean,
in fact, David Halls, who's the first assistant director, took a deal for... I don't know what it was, a misdemeanor for mishandling a gun or firearm or something like that.
So the first AD
went down. The first AD went down.
He said, I'm guilty.
Yeah.
Right?
He folded.
And so that protects the producers anyway, in my book, because they hired a first AD to take safety responsibility.
That was going to be Alec Baldwin's argument.
Defense,
That why am I in trouble? I'm just an actor.
Yeah.
If Hutchins is telling me to point the gun at her and telling me to shoot it, I'm going to shoot it.
100%.
Here's where it gets a little convoluted. So the reason I think that this case got distorted is, number one, I think that Alec Baldwin's statement about he said, I didn't shoot the gun. Right? I didn't shoot the gun. He went on George Stephanopoulos' ABC News and said, no, I never shot the gun.
So the least credible thing he has said is that he didn't pull the trigger, because everybody seems to believe that you cannot get that firearm to fire without pulling the trigger. Yeah. So he did pull the trigger.
Well, we don't know if he pulled the trigger. There's a high likelihood that he did pull the trigger because there was an expert that said it's impossible for a gun to go off without you pulling the trigger.
Many experts.
But here's where it gets convoluted. That's a non-issue.
It's a non-issue. In my book, it's a
non-issue.
It's
It's a smoking gun that the prosecution, Carrie Morrison, I will say your name over and over again because you're a disgrace to all lawyers. All right, Carrie. She kept saying that he shot the gun. That's not the issue. The issue isn't whether he shot the gun. The issue is whether he knew or should have known that there were live bullets in that gun.
Right.
Period.
Yep.
And you know what this dirty Carrie Morrison prosecutor did? She got a bystander to come after the Gutierrez trial. Some bystander came up after Gutierrez was convicted and gave 3 bullets, an innocent bystander, to the prosecutor's office, to the lead investigator on that case.
Sheriff's office?
The sheriff's office. Same thing. They're all part of the agency. So the DA, they're all in the same circle. So she can't hide behind, oh, yeah, that's the sheriff. You are a prosecutor. It's a prosecutorial agency. You guys are all underneath the same umbrella, okay? She can't hide and say, oh, that's the sheriff. The sheriff took the 3 bullets, and for some reason, the prosecutor's direction, they doxed it. They put it under a different number. Aside from the Gutierrez retrial, they put it under a different number. Basically, they buried it.
Why would they do that?
Tell me why.
Well, is it because it exonerates him?
Well, if it didn't exonerate him, like Alex Spear said, they would have given it to Russ on a silver platter. The fact that they're hiding this makes you scratch your head.
Were they other live bullets that were mistakenly put there by a third party, like an actual outside?
I think there were live bullets.
House.
That's the point. Is the prosecutor never has the authority to decide what to give a defense attorney like myself. It's U.S. v. Brady. Okay, Brady material. If you look under Brady, Brady says that any exculpatory evidence or even inculpatory evidence of exculpatory value must be given to him. Why is that of value? Because the Baldwin team could have looked at the bullets and said, oh, we know what happened. We know who put the bullets here, or we know where it came from. Something to explain to the jury. There may have been something like that. Maybe not. We don't know. But it is not.
It could point to alternatively guilty people.
But it's not incumbent of the defense attorney in the middle of a trial after a jury has been impaneled to start conducting an investigation. And that's why the judge said, you're right. Alec Baldwin doesn't have to start investigating this crap in the middle of trial. You should have given those bullets to him, even if it wasn't any value. Who the F are you, Carrie Morrison? I'm going to call her Karen because she's a Karen. Who are you, Karen, to decide what you should be giving to the defense attorneys? And the audacity of this Karen, she took the stand. She called herself to the stand to explain everything.
That looked weird, dude. It's like, who calls yourself? Yeah. Like, who asked?
Because she's a Karen. She's an entitled, blonde, angry woman.
She wanted the attention.
She wanted the attention. This is a high-profile case. The last time they had any
nothing
trial,
against blondes.
Yeah, no, she's an angry blonde, just like another angry blonde. I'm not going to mention. I've been on her show many times. All right. Yeah, initials NG. I don't like you, NG. You can look that up. Anyway,
we like blondes. We like
blonde. There's a lot of blonde, angry commentators on TV that automatically assume everybody's guilty without giving due process. And due process means, just so everybody knows, if I accuse you of a crime, I got to tell you what's going on with the crime, what evidence I have. I cannot, under the 14th Amendment, in the middle of a trial, just say, oh, yeah, by the way, this was discovered. There were some bullets discovered. And that's what happened in Alec Baldwin's case.
Okay.
In the middle of the cross-examination of Alec Baldwin's case, they asked him, where did you get these bullets? This just popped up, by the way. They had no idea. Alex Spear it just happened in live time. They said, we got these bullets right after the trial. And Alex was very smart. He's like, wait a second. You got this after? Who gave it to you? Why didn't we get this? And that's why there was a sidebar. And then it was a mistrial after, because you can't do that. You can't hide evidence.
Okay. How long were those bullets brought in before?
Right after the trial. So months.
You mean right after the Hannah Gutierrez trial?
So they had it for months and months and months, and not a whisper of this until the jury trial.
But let's understand what happened. So Miss Gutierrez was found guilty. She went to jail. Yeah. And then somebody brought in a box of bullets to the sheriff's department, presumably to exonerate themselves.
Not a box, a saran wrap with 3 bullets. Or
was it just 3?
3
cartridges.
Yes.
In a saran wrap.
Some sort of wrap.
Somebody's trying to exonerate themselves from potential liability by saying, hey, Sheriff's Department, I think you should maybe see this because we had it and we should turn it over to you.
We don't know. The point is that when you mention something like that, you have to decide what value it has. So somebody gave it, Tony, it could be 0 value.
But do we know what it was?
It was 3 bullets.
Were they live or were they props?
I think they were live bullets from the similar bullets that they were used on the set of Rust. I don't know what the connection is, but it's not our job.
Potential culprits in this fact pattern.
It could be somebody else that may have had those bullets that you want to now question. Like, where did you get those bullets from?
Right.
We want to know.
Somehow key to the case.
But the point is that in the middle of the trial, Alec Baldwin's attorney, Alex, found out, and he just told the judge, this is not fair. You can't just drop this on us in the middle of a jury trial.
Should it have been during
3 months ago?
Depositions.
3 months ago. As soon as you get discovery, you're supposed to call. Let me tell you what's supposed to happen. I'm Karen Morrison, all right? Her name is Carrie. I'm going to call her Karen.
Yeah.
So I'm Karen. I call you and Tony. I got some bullets that were dropped off at my office. I have no idea what this is. I don't think it means anything. I'm going to let your investigator analyze it.
Full disclosure.
Yeah, full disclosure. That's all it's about.
Like, it may help you, it may help me, but you should see them.
That's right.
Because we're officers of the law, we're trying to get to the truth.
For Karen to get on the stand and say, I didn't think there was any evidentiary value. How dare you, Karen? Who are you? Are you a judge? Are you deciding somebody's due process rights? Who the F are you? I want to throw my Coca-Cola mug right at the freaking TV screen when I saw that.
Were you more angry when you found out she had left out this evidence for a delayed period of time? Or were you more angry when she then called herself to the stand to try to justify it?
Both. I thought when she called herself to the stand, that's when I officially knew she was a Karen.
Who does that?
Because she doesn't do anything wrong. I know the law. I do everything myself. Your Honor, there was no evidentiary value.
Whoa.
She's an entitled person that took this case on, in my opinion, because in a 116-year history of Santa Fe, there's never, ever been a high-profile case like this. And I just think she did it for her own political gain. She knew that she was going to be on TV. This may have helped her, career in some way. And she was blinded by the fact that, there were other problems with the case. She didn't care about the problems with the case. So, this is what I call an overzealous prosecutor. And can I tell you something, Alex Spiro?
Dangerous.
Can I tell you, Alex Spiro? You could sue Karen Morrison. You could sue her under 42 U.S.C. 1983 for civil rights violation, for civil disobedience. You prosecuted Alec Baldwin unlawfully, not malicious prosecution, because there was no judgment on the merits. It's a civil rights violation to withhold evidence, and she could be sued individually. And you know what, Karen?
How is it civil rights?
I hope you are. I hope you're individually sued.
How is it civil rights? He's not part of a protected group of any kind.
His 14th Amendment rights were violated. You have a right as a defendant.
Gotcha.
You have a right as a defendant not to be set up by the government.
So due process violation?
Of course it is. Of course it is. It's due process violation. Not only, I would even argue it's malicious. But the problem is with a malicious argument, which he would have really got a lot of money, he would have made millions of dollars. If there's a finality of the judgment on the merits, in other words,
you'd have to win the case.
You have to win the case at some way. Now, he did technically win by dismissal, but there was no finality of the judgment technically.
Factually, there hasn't been a
Factually, there wasn't, because he could have been found guilty. He could have been. Let me repeat. Alec Baldwin dodged a bullet. He could have been found guilty because why? They could have found that he was reckless or wanton. Apparently, he was like shooting the gun on rehearsals. Maybe, maybe not.
He could have been, but he should not have been.
He shouldn't have been charged, in my opinion.
He should not have been.
No, but he could have been. Yeah. By the way, just because you shouldn't be charged doesn't mean that you can't be found guilty. Does that make sense? The prosecutor has discretion on what charges to bring. I mean, if they want you to be convicted, probably can make you convicted. I mean,
they could. I mean,
they could set you up. But Alec Baldwin shouldn't have been charged.
No.
I believe he was charged because he's an A-list actor. Santa Fe is a dead town. There's nothing going on in Santa Fe. This is the biggest thing that ever happened to Karen Morrison. All right, Lady Karen, and she decided to use this to basically prop herself up in the media, and I firmly believe that.
So you think she did him dirty by not disclosing those bullets to the other side?
Of course.
Those cartridges, as soon as they were revealed to the prosecution.
Of course.
And then she took the stand, and what did she say? How did she justify it?
She justified it by saying that she didn't believe there was evidentiary value. It basically wasn't a big deal.
And how? How could you say that?
You can't. That's why the judge thought it was ridiculous.
What was her logic?
She had no other argument. She's a moron.
So...
The only moronic legal argument that she had is that I didn't think there was any evidentiary value to this. That's all she could say. Otherwise, she's screwed. Otherwise, she's admitting that she had the evidence and she didn't give it. She basically weaseled her way out of it. And that's why the judge was like, I ain't buying this.
Is there generally any standard of evidence that the lawyers on each side have to apply if they do come across some evidence? Like, let's say they came across some legitimately irrelevant evidence. Yeah. They do have to make some judgment, right?
Yes, of course. I'll tell you right now. So I've been doing this 25 years. I'm a criminal defense attorney. You know what prosecutors do? They call me up on the phone. They say, RJ, we got this new piece of evidence. I don't think it means anything, but I'm giving it to you anyway.
Like we found out he ate ice cream that day at 11 o'clock. We found the receipt. I don't know if it means anything to you, but maybe you should know.
Full disclosure.
Maybe you should know. Yeah.
Full disclosure. I found...
Seems irrelevant.
It could be anything. It could be even non-related. I found a used condom in his pocket. We're booking it into evidence. I wanted to let you know. Well, what does that have to do with anything, Mrs. Prosecutor? It has nothing to do with anything, but we're letting you know. That stuff happens all the time. When I get calls about irrelevant evidence, I want to know about irrelevant evidence. Who are you to tell me what's relevant or not relevant? It's not your job, Karen Morrison, to decide that. It's the job of the judge. So you got to bring it to the judge and let the judge decide. Right. And on top of it, she's weaseling back and saying, "Oh yeah, it got documented under different report." Why did it get documented under a different report?
Now, when
that was so dirty. I mean, that not only was it dirty, she's trying to cover up the dirtiness of it, which makes her even more dirty.
Did Alex Spiro make her pay for this on the stand, cross-examining her? I think he cross-examined her.
I think he cross-examined her, but
did he go soft?
I remember. I don't think it was as good as the best part was the crime scene investigator. That was the cross-examination that went. Wait, you have 3 bullets. Wait, you guys knew about this the whole time. That was the big one. Most of the cross-examination questions on Karen Morrison was from the judge.
Interesting.
Yeah, and by the way, her name is Carrie, Kari, but I'm calling her Karen because she's an entitled white woman with blonde hair that thinks she could do whatever she wants.
It doesn't matter that she's white. It doesn't matter that she's blonde. She's just a Karen. Let's leave it at that. Let's leave the identity out of it.
I'm a white person. I'm calling it out. White people can call white people out. I'll do it.
Before we wrap this, and I don't know, do you have more to... All I have to say on it is I would love to recognize the beauty of the machine design here, the machine being the legal system, the machine being the world you work in as a criminal defense attorney, the guardrails put in against this kind of abuse.
Yes.
I want to recognize that.
Yeah.
As a fan of this machine, I'm kind of impressed by the fact that when this woman did not do her job correctly and did not disclose those bullets, later on, when the defense attorney learned about it, when the judge learned about it, the guardrails of the machine kicked into gear. And they worked the way they're supposed to work, and they threw the case out of court.
And not only did they throw the case out, the co-prosecutor quit. She quit.
Beautiful.
She quit. She was
That's awesome.
It was so dirty. Her partner, who's a good person, Miss Johnson, she was like, "I'm out of here. This is so dirty. I'm out." She quit.
Good for her.
So good. Kudos to her.
Yeah, that's a good citizen of these United States protecting the system.
She was so insulted by the fact that this was being hidden. And also she said the fact that this is being broadcast. I mean, she was embarrassed. Think about it. She's a prosecutor. She's getting up there. She has no idea what's going on. And her crazy colleague, Karen Morrison, is doing this behind her back. I feel bad for her. She got sabotaged. Her career is toast. She's never going to be able to get a job in the prosecutor's office because now the DAs are going to go after her, right? She's X'd off. She's blacklisted because she went...
Who, the one that quit?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, she should be completely held up as a hero.
A hero in my book, but she's blacklisted in the DA's book, in the district attorney's book.
She'll go to a different city and be... I mean,
sure, but she lost her job. She lost her benefits. She had to quit. She had to step down from something that she does because of what? Because of this idiot Karen Morrison?
She could get a high-paying job at a defense firm.
She probably will. You know,
go to the other side.
She probably will, but that's not the point. The point is that she was forced to do this, and in the interim right now, she's in limbo. She doesn't know. I know she's going to do well, and I wish her the best. But right now, why is that fair for her to be forced to quit? Because of what you did. Because of the moronic behavior of your co-defendant's attorney.
You're talking about Karen Morrison.
I'm talking about Karen Morrison. Let's call it Karen Morrison.
Carrie Morrison.
Yeah.
I would. I think it's best to try to steelman her in this case too. Could it just be that Carrie Morrison legitimately saw these cartridges late? She learned of this late.
No, she admitted, she said she knew about it right after the Gutierrez case. She knew about it. She knew about where it was reported. Her excuse was, I didn't think it had any evidentiary value.
So to try to steelman her point of view, could it be that she just saw these 3 cartridges, and I'm trying hard here, but she just figured, well, those are live rounds, and I'm assuming that, I don't know. They came from a prop, I don't know where they came from. They came from an armory of some sort. And so what? A bunch of proprietors of cartridges have live rounds. This is just another proprietor. He turned in these live rounds. I don't know that it says anything about the Rush shooting. Could it be that she legitimately and honestly did not think there was relevance to this evidence?
It's not her job to think that.
No, but she just blanked. Like she just went, whatever. You
No,
brought
but
in 3. I don't even know who
there's
you
no
are.
whatever. There's
You
no-
came in off the street and brought 3 cartridges. I have no idea who you are.
No.
Or what are these?
You know what? You know what then? You know what I would tell that? I would tell Karen Morrison, you're fired. Get out of here. You don't know the protocols. Get the F out of here. Because everybody at a law school knows. Law School 101, you get discovery. You don't know what it is. You take it to your supervisor. Your supervisor will then decide at that point, we should probably tell the defendant's counsel. It's not, and by the way, she was especially hired. She was a former private lawyer that was a specially assigned prosecutor. Okay, so she had a duty to report this information to the prosecutor's office, which she did not do. What I'm trying to tell you is Karen Morrison is dirty. And remember when we talked about doing dirty? Remember we talked about the show?
Yeah.
This is doing somebody dirty. He did Alec Baldwin dirty. And I'm not saying that Alec Baldwin wasn't responsible. He probably is morally responsible. Probably. I would have checked those bullets myself.
No.
I would have.
No.
I would have.
Well,
and by the way,
no, you would not have.
No,
you
would've.
absolutely would
You know
not
what?
have.
You know
no,
what?
you would not
Rob
have.
Schneider, George Clooney, all check their bullets. All of them. They've said that.
Again,
a lot of actors have come with a petition saying we check our bullets before we shoot.
Okay, but I mean, you can.
I would have done it all.
You can understand that when you're on the set and you're shooting and you're an actor in a costume.
Sure.
Your only job is to play and have fun
Sure.
and live in the moment
Sure.
and ignore
Yeah.
the lights and ignore
Yes.
and literally unsee
Yes, but-
the director and the safety coordinators. Say, your job is not to check the gun. You're saying you would have, but if you were an actor at the level of Alec Baldwin, who is a pretty amazing actor and a successful actor, obviously, who can actually blank out, mentally block out, just hear me out on this, but mentally block out everybody around them, including the lights, camera, safety coordinators, cranes, prop machines, smoke, and then just be in the moment with that gun as a real gun, imagining it's a real gun, and fully emotionally live the moment as an actor of really shooting somebody with a real gun. That is what he's doing as an actor. No part of him should be thinking, well, it could be that it's loaded. No, it is loaded in his mind. He is that character.
Yeah, but he's there. There's an assumption you're making.
Which is what?
The assumption is that he doesn't have time to check the bullets before the scene.
I'm not even going to make a statement about time. I would say that it's not his
You're
job.
talking about once-
It's not his job to even think about checking the gun
maybe-
because he has to be lost
Okay, so
in the character.
So legally, you're right.
Not even legally, creatively.
Morally, if I'm holding a gun,
Yeah.
a real gun, and all prop guns are real guns, and I'm going to point it at you.
Yeah.
If I have 10 minutes, I'm going to look inside. All you got to do is take a look and see if there's a divot. It's very easy to see whether there's a real gun, a real bullet, or not a real. It's very
That
simple.
wouldn't have worked in this case, and here's why. He would have had to unload the cartridge.
So?
And he would have had to shake in the cartridge
Nope.
to be like, is it rattle or not?
No.
Yes, it would.
There'd be divots. There's a divot on those shake.
But in the Rust case, we know that the cartridges either rattled or didn't.
Not all-
and if they rattled,
That's
they were
one way.
live.
That's one way.
Or did I have that backwards?
That's one way.
But hold on, just to make sure I get it right. If they rattled, they were not live.
If they rattled, they were not.
fake.
That's just one way, though.
Right, right.
So there's a dummy bullet.
Yeah.
And there are blanks.
But we don't know that.
So
this
you're
gun-
talking about a dummy bullet. I'm talking about the blanks.
Yeah.
Dummy bullets don't kill people. Blanks do.
Yeah, but there is no way that we morally. I cannot.
I think it's a moral
we disagree fully.
we
fully
could.
disagree
We
because
could.
there's no part of me that can, in good faith, morally hold an actor liable when I know singularly that their only job is to live and breathe the character they are in that moment.
Yeah, but
in that moment.
Yes, but you know,
But bro, the greatest actors. Who are the greatest actors of our time? Like who
well, I could tell you that Keanu Reeves does a check on his gun. George Clooney has a check on his gun. Rob Schneider's a check. I got lists. There's a list. You could go on Google and everybody's got petitions saying I check my gun before I shoot.
I haven't.
It
seen that.
only takes 3 minutes to go right before. Look, right before the scene, you take a look at your bullets really quick, put it back in. Just a quick eye observation.
What if you're blindfolded in the scene? What if your hands are tied behind your back? What if your hands are tied behind your back? Well, but that's what I'm saying. In a creative scenario, in a movie script, it could be anything.
Well, you're changing the fact pattern. I'm only focusing on this fact pattern.
Okay, so in this particular fact pattern, you're just saying, hey, man, he's an actor. I appreciate that he needs to be in the moment and all that emotionally, but take a goddamn second and check.
2 seconds.
Okay.
But before you go into character, before you go into Harlan Russ and become that character,
Yeah.
you're sitting down, you're having coffee, you're walking around. You got the gun in your hands, right?
Some actors never stop being the character the entire shoot.
Well, okay, fine. Granted.
The entire shoot.
But you're walking around with your equipment. How hard is it to just take a look at the gun that you're going to point at somebody? Just say, all right, let me take a look at this. Oh, look what we have here. We got a live gun, people.
It's just not his job. It's not his job.
It may not be his job legally.
It's not even his job.
All I'm saying is morally.
It's not even his job to know how to tell the different dummy bullets from the real bullets. That's the first AD's job.
A lot of actors would disagree with you. Rob Schneider, George Clooney, Keanu Reeves. There's a list of people that wrote that's not. They don't agree with you. So, Hollywood split on this one. I don't know.
It might be, but I mean,
and
we know that there's somebody on the set whose exact job it was to check those.
David
more
Hall,
than one,
right?
2 or 3 people,
right.
And Miss Gutierrez.
I'm not saying it's.
And they hand the gun to the actor, and then they say, "Go."
I'm not saying it's criminal.
I get it.
I'm not saying it's criminal.
You're judging him morally.
I'm just saying when I sleep at night.
Yeah.
If I was Alec Baldwin, I would want to know if don't you think he's thinking right now, maybe I should just take a quick look, a gander really quick, and this would have been avoided?
He's not.
He is, of course
because
he is.
He doesn't deserve that. As an actor, he doesn't deserve that.
Hutchins family.
She certainly doesn't deserve to die. I mean, I have
Hutchins
all the...
He has a right for Alec deserves for Alec to think about what he did. It's
misplaced anger. It's misplaced anger. If Hutchins' family wants to place anger on Alec Baldwin, and I doubt they do,
they're suing him.
They would be blaming. That's for civil liability. They want. I get that they want to do that, and maybe even even the playing field somehow. But I can't in good faith put any moral blame on him, and I hope that
I'm not morally blaming him. All I'm saying is that if it was me, RJ, okay, you, Tony, would not do it. I would. Rob Schneider would. Keanu Reeves would. George Clooney would.
What if I was
DiCaprio? I think also.
What if I was on that set and it was a commercial shoot I was directing?
Yeah,
and that happened, and I went to bed as the director. Just a different fact pattern. Right. But should I feel? No offense taken, but what do you legitimately think? Like, should the director feel that I could have gone up and checked that gun before we shot?
I don't know about you, but I have morals and I have empathy, and my soul tells me that it would be crushed right now if I was Alec Baldwin. I would be replaying that thing in my head saying, I wish I would have checked that gun. Oh, I should have checked that gun. In fact, I will tell you something. From now on, if Alec Baldwin ever has another gun scene, you don't think he's going to check his bullets?
He probably will.
So why is he checking it now if he doesn't have responsibility?
Given the huge trauma he suffered.
Well, that's the point now, isn't it? The point is now, retrospect, if he did this practice before, somebody wouldn't have got killed. Why does somebody have to get killed before this practice starts happening, before Alec Baldwin says, oh, now I'm going to check my gun from now on?
Well, it's real simple, because the actor can check all he wants, but he's not going to know the specific identifying features of those dummy rounds or the gun. Miss Gutierrez, who's the armor, is going to know that and should have checked it. The first assistant director is the ultimate boss of safety, who gives the speeches, who tells everybody, here's what you're going to do, here's what you're going to do. Is the harness tight? You're going to check the harness, you're going to check the smoke machine, you're going to check the gun. I'm sure the first AD did not, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure the first AD, the safety officer on the set, did not look to Alec Baldwin and say, you're going to check the gun, sir, before you shoot. And it's, again, that command did not come down from the safety officer. So does he wish he would have? This is what I think, based on what you just said. I wish I would have checked the gun.
Of course.
Check mark. Yes, I agree.
Of course.
I'm sure he wishes.
And he should have done that.
Who wouldn't wish that they could have saved a young woman's life? But I should have checked the gun. I don't think he thinks that. And I hope he doesn't think that, for his own sake and for the sake of his wife and kids and his family, because that man, as an actor and as a creative person who's on that set just to play a role and tell a good story, he doesn't deserve, and I hope he doesn't deserve the moral gravitas of going to sleep every night and going, dude, I killed a woman and I feel bad about it. I'm sure he feels bad, but he doesn't deserve the torment of knowing or thinking it was his fault.
Well, I can't speak to that, but I could tell you that if you watch the making of Rust, they were walking around pointing guns at different people. There was a shotgun that they brought to a kid named Brady, and they just put it in his face.
Who's they?
One of the armors.
We're not talking about Alec Baldwin, though.
No, but he's responsible for the production set. He was
now
the
we're
producer.
Going back to the producer hat.
Right. I'm just saying, like, he's going to lose a civil case. He's going to lose a lot of money in a civil case.
As a producer. Because of hiring Miss Gutierrez,
right?
A bad choice.
The worst choice. She had no experience. If in fact, I'm surprised Nick Cage didn't get killed. And Nick Cage was supposed to die with that magic bullet that killed Hutchins. You know that, right?
Nick Cage is in the movie?
Nick Cage was in another movie that the armor, Halyna Gutierrez Smith was the armor on. Wow. And that same bullet, there was a live bullet on that set that never got to Nick Cage.
Seems like Hollywood's trying to save too much money.
They're using prop people and armors at the same time. I think they're cutting back on costs.
Thare getting more out of less.
They are.
And there's a cost to that.
This is
safety cost to that.
This has happened before. You know, people have been investigated for murder. Do you remember the Twilight Zone? There was a murder. They charged the John Landis, who's a famous director, for involuntary manslaughter because the propellers chopped off one of the kids' heads.
I'm sure he wasn't found guilty.
He wasn't found guilty, but there's
because the first assistant director is the safety officer on the set.
Right. So, and also John Landis had no idea the helicopter was going to crash. And
of course not. His job at the moment is to dream the biggest dream he can, and everybody around him should say no, sir, we cannot do that.
Yeah,
the producers, mostly the safety officers.
But I guess the point I'm trying to make is, and I said this at the last time. You know how the stock market has compliance officers. You know, when you have a stock market or you have a brokerage, there's a guy in a suit is walking up and down your aisle and is making sure everybody does everything right. And he reports to the Securities Exchange Commission. There should be a compliance security officer. There should be a new law, as I told you, called the Hutchins Act, where there's a compliance officer on every movie set. All right, maybe it'll cost an extra 30 grand, 40 grand, but that compliance officer's duty is to walk up and say, let me see your gun before a shit. Alec, let me see that gun. Let me see this. Let me see that. And not care about David Halls, not care about Halyna Gutierrez, not care about whatever. Somebody independent that's going to be basically a military officer on that set that makes sure everybody does everything in compliance.
You know what? A similar thing happens when you use automobiles. Like if you're going to do a car stunt in the middle of New York City, and I have done that with a crew of professionals and stunt people, guess what? The NYPD was a part of that discussion.
Right.
It's not like we just brought our own people and we're like, well, we have a traffic professional and we have a car pro and we have a street pro. We're good. No. NYPD was like, let's see what you guys are trying to do.
Right.
And we'll give you the guidelines as professionals who are not a part of your production, right? We're a third part. We're the safety officers of the city. Yeah. We will tell you what's a yay or a nay. And if you can't do it that way, maybe we'll give you a suggestion of what you can do. So that's what you're really talking about, and why not?
But to have that full time, I have no idea. Sense.
Well, maybe you just use actual police officers for that.
You could
have them in every city. They're experts in firearms.
The police officers are the ones. If you go around Hollywood and LA, the police officers, retired police officers, are the ones that are blocking off the streets. We should get retired police officers
would work.
To go on the set
like that.
And to watch everybody. This can't happen again. It happened to Brandon Lee.
Yeah.
What a shame, right? Happened to Miss Hutchins. What a shame. How many more people are going to die before people say enough is enough?
Yeah.
It shouldn't happen on movie sets
anymore. That's a good way to do it.
And here's another question for you. Why the F aren't we using CGI? Why do we have to use real guns anymore?
Because again, I would much prefer the actor have a real gun.
You can't do CGI than have look like a real gun?
You just prefer that the actor have something real in the moment that they can react to and that the other actor can react to.
It could be plastic gun. You could change the CGI.
They are often.
So why are they using real prop guns and real bullets? I don't understand that.
If I'm going to argue the case from a creative actor's point of view, they're going to say the more real, the better for me in the scene.
CGI is damn real.
No, the weight of it in my hand should be real.
So put the weight with no bullets.
The texture of it in my hand should be real. But that's what we're going for is no bullets, right? You're just saying the firing moment?
Yes.
So you're okay with...
Click. You add the CGI later.
Just that moment.
Yes.
Just that moment.
Yes. You add the CGI later and nobody gets killed.
I can't disagree with that. I mean, just the muzzle flash.
Just the muzzle flash. You could add that easily.
They do add
effect.
They always add
They were doing it on Rust.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't.
I have no idea. Why do you have to use...
Maybe it's a post-budget thing.
It feels like it's like
CGI budget.
1945 and there's no CGI and you got to use a real gun. It's just crazy.
It's low budget.
$7 million is low budget?
I think it was 5.
Even 5. That's
pretty
low?
Yeah, to make a Western.
You can't have CGI on a $5 million budget for a small scene?
No, not a lot. Not a lot.
Well, then I guess that's why.
Yeah.
Then you answer my question.
But CGI is getting a lot cheaper now. You could do that whole scene in AI today. You wouldn't even have to shoot it. We're almost there.
Isn't Johnny Wick all CGI? All the
John Wick?
John Wick, yeah.
The muzzle flashes, I believe, are all CGI.
They're all CGI?
Yeah,
I don't think he's shooting.
No.
So, I mean, Keanu Reeves got more gun movies than anybody I know. Why don't they just use the Keanu Reeves method?
Yeah, he's good at it. Well, the right result happened here, man. I feel good about it, right?
I feel good because even though Alec Baldwin may have been responsible, and we could argue that, all right?
We argue that.
The result was right. So the
result's right.
So the moral of the story is it's better to let a guilty person go than to violate the Constitution of the United States.
Yeah, and I would disagree that he's guilty.
Yeah. And again, I'm not saying that he was or wasn't.
Yeah.
There could have been a chance that he could have been found guilty. But because his rights were violated by hiding the evidence,
we value that more.
The judge didn't even care if he's guilty. He was like, I don't care. You violated the rights. Bye-bye.
Due process wins.
Constitution wins.
Constitution wins.
And I'm a huge Constitution guy.
Me too.
Constitution won again, and I love that. The Constitution is always on our back. Yeah.
Let's go, Constitution.
Yeah.
All right.